Hey, I'm Luca. Today I'm going to do an ADHD test. Okay, so I read this now and I've already forgot what it said. How often, so this is number 3. How often do you have problems remembering appointments or obligations? I don't think I forget appointments a lot, unless I'm forgetting them. I also don't do a lot. So I don't have a lot of appointments. I do write everything down. I have like 3 calendars. So one is in my bullet journal, one's on my phone, and I put all my like important personal appointments, like doctor appointments and stuff like that, in my work calendar as well, because obviously I have to check that calendar multiple times a day so I don't forget stuff. I set reminders all the time. So I don't think I forget those. No. When you have a task that requires a lot of thought, how often do you avoid or delay getting started? I avoid and delay getting started with pretty much everything. So it's not necessarily stuff that takes a lot of thought, but just like going from one mode of being, like just watching the news on TV. Like right now with working from home, I'll wake up, I'll have my breakfast, watch the news, and then what I should be doing is get up, go sit down and get to work, because the faster I do that, the faster I can stop again. And it's just doing that action, transitioning to that, it's just not easy. So I kind of delay everything. Well, but then of course it's just without medication. I'm not sure because it's been a while that I've attempted to do stuff that take a lot of thought without my medication, because it's just, maybe then that's true. I kind of feel like I can't even really think without my medication, so I just don't do it. It's just, it's such a frustration to, I mean, you've not become less intelligent, but it's like there's like walls between your brain that thinks and the part of the brain that has to do the stuff, and you just can't get through that. And that's really frustrating, and everything becomes just sluggish or very distracted and either angry or no, I hate it. So I think I would avoid stuff like that. How often do you fidget or squirm with your hands or feet when you have to sit down for a long time? Well, I have Tourette, so I squirm anyway, but yeah, especially during meetings, I'll constantly be doodling, I'll make little paper boats and hats, anything like that. I can't sit still that long. I have to get up every hour or so and just do something. So the hyperactive part of ADHD, it's usually not, for adults, it's not as apparent as it is in children often, because we learn tools and we learn like coping strategies to not stick out as much. So whereas children will just literally be running around the place, standing on tables, throwing stuff, adults usually they might not show as much hyperactivity, maybe when they are speaking or interrupting your conversations, because they're going a bit faster. But usually the hyperactivity is more inward, so it's just a feeling of restlessness, having problems just like sitting still for a long time. So it's more like this internal restlessness. It feels, there's like some frustration that starts to build up. But it's not that adults with ADHD look that hyperactive, even though they still are, it's just internal. How often do you feel overly active and compelled to do things like you were driven by a motor? So I am, like when I'm speaking often, I keep going. It's weird. I think I'm more inattentive usually than hyperactive, even though I am kind of hyperactive. I don't know. How often do you feel overly active and compelled to do things like you were driven by a motor? Yeah, I don't have that as much anymore. Okay, so future editing Luca here. Boy, what the f are you talking about? I mean, I just spent 5 hours editing. I haven't peed even once. This proves that people with ADHD have very little self-awareness. Okay, bye. 7. How often do you make careless mistakes when you have to work on boring or difficult projects? So again, this is without medication. Oh my god, so much. Especially in secondary school, because I didn't know I had ADHD when I was in secondary school. Also in primary school, but of course primary school is a bit easier, so I could kind of hide it more. But especially in secondary school, I would just forget like half of the test. Like I would just do the front page and then not the other page. I would study really hard, but study the wrong chapter because I didn't read the instructions. And now even like still, sometimes I forget my medication when I go to work. Oh no, so like I'll check the wrong dates, I'll go to the wrong meeting rooms just because I don't look. How often do you have difficulty keeping your attention when you're doing boring or repetitive work? Boring and that's also really hard. Without medication, again, no, oh my god. I'd have to find like perfect distraction as well, so like put on music or make it like into a game or something, or give me like a reward straight at the end. So like do something for 30 minutes and then immediately, you know, give myself some sort of a reward to make it feel like it's worth it. So you know, those are kind of the skills that I used, especially without medication. But even still, boring and repetitive stuff is just it feels like such a task, and the longer you wait, the worse it becomes. It feels physically impossible to do it. Even though there's some repetitive things that I can kind of enjoy, there's certain like structures, things, especially during my work, there are sometimes stuff that I just have to do a lot, and I like that. It's kind of like a nice feeling, nice flow, but most of the time I can't do it, I hate it, and if I don't have to do it, I'll try not to. How often do you have difficulty concentrating on what people say to you, even when they are speaking to you directly? Oh my god, that was, like, again, without medication, that was just horrible. People will be talking to me and I just zone out. Usually in direct conversation, it wasn't as bad, but in class it was just, I was physically trying to focus, like just and then I was just focusing on how much I was focusing, like just trying so hard, but I couldn't really do that for more than 20 minutes at a time, and that's nothing. So, and now even like still during like meetings, I tend to zone out, I miss stuff. I still have it when I have a question, especially when it's something technical, and people call me to explain it to me. I can't process that verbal information that quickly, because I'll zone out, because they'll say something and I start imagining how I'm going to fix something, and then I'm already lost. So I just prefer having stuff in writing so I can actually read it and then get distracted, but then come back to it. When people talk to you and you have to think at the same time, how do you do that? Well, if you're neuroatypical, I think you can do that. But then the moment I'd be around people, I'd just be, as a teenager, I hated that, because I wanted to be kind of cool. Getting my second diagnosis pretty much because I was in gender therapy.